All right, here we go. What do we say, Linda? We are like phones down, glasses up, topped up, ready to go. It's Steele and Vance time, and boy, there's a lot to get to today, but we got kind of breaking news for our show.
Yeah, ish. You know, one of our favorite guests was the Premier John Horgan. He came on the show right before he signed off. He was going to stay in his seat as an MLA, but today we learned he is not. So here's the tweet from David Eby today, our new Premier, saying, and apparently John Horgan stepping out around March?
Yeah, they're figuring Rob Shaw, our political ledge reporter, all-around nice guy Rob Shaw, says maybe John Horgan's going to go out around Paddy's Day. What do you think?
Which means maybe a spring election.
Maybe.
For the,
Let's cheers. Let's cheers. There we go. Cheers, John Horgan. There you go. Cheers.
To a career, you know, way to go. I think he's really achieved a lot, and it's good to go. He's going out on his own terms.
He is a good man, and he came here. He actually reached out to you and said, hey, I'll come on your new show. I love that. I love that. Very cool. Another thing that's quite cool for everybody in British Columbia, if you love a stat holiday, we are going to be getting the stat, the Day for Truth and Reconciliation. That was elsewhere in the country, but BC is going to adopt this stat. That's
September 30th. Probably not everyone's going to get it. There's always some people who are like, well, how come they get it and I don't get it? But anyway, check with your boss. But it's official. It is a BC stat now. And
it used to be hard and fast rule. If it was a stat, you got paid time and a half if you worked that day. There are so many ways around it now. Gig economy, you're part-time, you're on contract, you work 39 hours a week instead of 40. There's a lot about that.
And small businesses are going, well, hang on, this is going to cost us a fortune. So there's a lot of pieces to that puzzle, but still, it's official.
We got good news after last week's show. Remember Jamie Pine, the young man and his boyfriend on the SkyTrain, and then that awful, intolerant, racist, hate speech-filled individual, from Chilliwack. He turned himself in.
Yeah, I mean, the heat was on. He has been charged with something unrelated. Last I heard, he hasn't been charged in connection with this rant.
No, it was a gun offense. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness.
So a little wrap on the bow, partially to that story. Another thing that is an update to something we talked about last week, which is good news, is the Folk Festival, not dead.
Yay! If you want to help with the Vancouver Folk Music Festival, you can fund the fest. So donations are required. We need to keep this alive. We don't want to be No Fun Vancouver. Let's help the Vancouver Folk Festival. They pulled back on the we're not doing it this year and we're never doing it again, and enough backlash. So
now the scramble is on to try to get all the acts in place.
Let's do it. Hey, talking about scrambles on the worldwide stage. I mean, obviously, you and I were going back and forth right when this earthquake happened on the border of Turkey and Syria, and horrifying images ever since then. We want to just make sure that everybody knows a way to help in this crisis. If you have something that you can give, humanitariancoalition.ca is a way that together we can gather it, even if it's just a couple of dollars, if you're just, skipping the drive-through coffee or what have you.
Because they're talking about the death toll being up and around 17, 18, 19,000, and it's very cold there right now. So there are children and women and families that are very cold and very distressed. So if you can help.
Let's get to what's coming up on the show today. We got a couple of just absolute incredible guests joining us today. Like, we almost didn't have enough time. We needed 3 hours today, guys. We needed 3 hours. We really did. But we shoehorned a couple of really good ones in.
And one of them is going to jump off this Toronto Star article about skating sweetheart Jamie Salé, who has gone down a real conspiracy rabbit hole. She is espousing some crazy stuff on Twitter. COVID is fake, the government's fully corrupt, all the rest of it. And so, we have a guest who's going to break that down for us.
He is unbelievable. He is the health law professor at the University of Alberta, Timothy Caulfield. If you follow him on Twitter, you see him pushing back on disinformation. He is putting science up first. He is taking on, and boy, Linda, does he ever take on the trolls who come that come from that disinformation machine that is going out there. And Professor Caulfield, Timothy, will be with us to talk it through. We could talk to this guy for hours and hours and hours.
Awesome. One of the other things we're going to talk about that's making headlines this week are these May-December romances with movie stars like Leonardo DiCaprio. Has taken a lot of heat for apparently dating a 19-year-old. He's now walking that back.
Yes, people are like, no, he's not.
We were just in the same photo. But at the same time, we have other stars like Cher, 70, her boyfriend's 40 years younger. So we'll talk about that that and Madonna making news because she looked a little different at the Grammys.
There's a lot going on in that whole segment. It's like,
There is
what
a
are we
lot
allowed
going on, right?
True.
Yeah.
True. There is that. It's going to be an interesting segment because it's a fine line about, what people do and should there be.
And who cares? And is it anybody else's business? But everyone's
on
talking
the May,
about it.
on the May, December, or on the, in
Madonna.
your 60s. Yeah, what you want to do.
She wants
with
to
your
pay
Madonna.
to plump up her face, then go for it.
I love the Grammys. Did you love the Grammys?
I did, actually. I thought it was pretty good. One of the other big things, and this is something that I think is going to appeal to all of our viewers, women and men. And we're going to be talking about menopause because it's been making headlines this week. The New York Times was saying women are being misled about menopause. Let's get real. Half the population is going to deal with this. And yet there's so much we don't know and so much we don't talk about.
Indeed. I mean, I think this might be the first generation that has this conversation. And there was so much fear around hormone replacement therapy that is absolutely a treatment for the issues around menopause, perimenopause, in fact, because we'll learn that menopause is a day. Shirley Weir of Menopause Chicks will be joining us. This woman has been studying it. She is a peer counselor on the topic. And as you said, Linda, I think it's really important to point out, this is a conversation that includes men.
Yeah.
And partners. Not just men, because there are two women in a relationship and one of them might be perimenopausal and the other one's like, you're crazy, what's happening? Well, we're going to talk about what is going on and how that might be navigated with Shirley Weir. She's so
big
great.
conversation,
It
but
is.
we'll tuck
Coming
into
up.
a bit of it.
Yeah.
Some of the headlines this week, we had our premiers all went rushing off to Ottawa, including David Eby, hoping for a big cash infusion from the federal government into healthcare. And they didn't really get what they wanted. Here's the deal. The federal government said we'll give you $46 billion in new money over 10 years. But Jody, the reason why the premiers were disappointed is because they wanted $28 billion a year.
A year, yeah.
So there's a big disconnect, and there's going to be bilateral agreements, and of course all the premiers are going to take the money, but it's not really what they wanted, and it doesn't fix what ails the healthcare system.
No question. I think, did I hear a stat that amount of money, BC's portion of that will cover 8 days of healthcare in this province? Like, there's a lot. However, I think there's an argument to be made, and hearing a lot of physicians talk about how there are things that can be corrected in how the system currently works that would then move some money to where it's most needed or free up the physician's time in ways that will have a meaningful impact on how care is delivered.
The key is,
the documentation and
drill
the administration that has been going on for physicians is being screamed from the highest mountaintop. So this political infighting, I mean, that's always going to be a thing. I just hope that at least we'll get somewhere closer to everybody having a GP.
Because the Trudeau government really needed a win here. They've been under fire. There have been some missteps when they brought in amendments to their gun legislation. And frankly, it didn't make any sense. And they were trying to sneak them in. Everybody was mad. Farmers, gun owners, Indigenous people. So the government went, oh, okay, we're going to walk that back. And a lot of people were saying that was a self-inflicted wound. The Trudeau government didn't handle that properly. And the gun legislation as proposed was pretty robust as it was. So that was a mistake that they made on their own.
I have a political question for you. How do you feel about this Chinese spy balloon and how that was handled in the U.S.? Do you?
Well, I think that what we know now is that China routinely sends these spy balloons across America, Canada, all parts of the world, and kind of gets away with it. And don't kid yourself. We are also, I mean the global community is also spying on China too.
Totally.
But it's the fact that China's like, oh no, it was just a weather balloon, and how dare you shoot it down? That's ours, give it back. It was like, it was just so cheeky. It was like, yeah, we're just going to float this balloon in and hopefully no one says anything.
I'm going to float a balloon in here and I'm going to say something. Did you hear this about the theater seatings?
Oh, yeah.
That they're going to now charge for the good seat, extra for the good seats? No, AMC. No.
Yeah.
No.
Well,
$20
but you
popcorn and now this?
You get a cheaper seat if you're willing to sit in the front row and tip your head way back so you can barely see the screen. But if you want to sit in the middle and in some of the prime areas, there's going to be a premium.
Siskel and Ebert. I'm going old school. Thumbs down.
You know that's coming to Canada.
I'm so mad.
Any way they can tack on some new fee? Yeah.
Okay, let's get into it. Later on the show, like I said, taboo subject about menopause. We're going to help partners navigate with a little menopause 101.
That's right. And still ahead on Steel and Vance, from the athletic arena to peddling COVID conspiracy tales, what has happened to former champions Jamie Salé and Theo Fleury? What is driving their misinformation campaign? We dig in next.